What freaks you out? What scares you? What keeps you up at night?
Okay, I'll take that first. So I think, for me, I would say there's a strategic and a tactical answer to that. Strategically, and I've been, my first job was selling, and we're going to go back to the age thing, but I was selling 2-disk drive IBM PCs in the early 80s. So the pace of change in this business is unlike anything that I've ever experienced. And that's gone through the PC revolution, the internet revolution, and now with mobile. And I mean, it's astounding. And so you just don't know. I mean, the chaos that exists in our market segments is profound. And there are guys popping up left and right with new ideas. And as John said, the capital requirements for a lot of some of these new use cases is pretty low. And so you see companies popping up that have incredible traction after 6 months, after 9 months, and so with social networking and network effects, it just so the pace of change and just the energy required to keep up with that is pretty profound.
I think my perspective is probably a little different because since we're a venture fund versus operating mobile company, but the thing that scares the hell out of me is China and all the things that are going on over there and the heavy reliance that a lot of the technology companies are placing, not just on China, but on international supply chain issues. And the integration of global supply chain has come a really long way in the last 5 or 10 years, and people have gotten very complacent, very comfortable depending upon that supply chain. Then all of a sudden, if you get a hurricane, the nuclear reactor goes off, and part of that supply chain gets disrupted, or a small company that's supplying a critical part, for your hardware device that you're manufacturing, small country has a problem, and then the critical piece all of a sudden can't be shipped on time. And
we view China. See, I view it very differently than Rudy, because I happen to think that it's one of the most incredible opportunities that I've ever seen in my entire career. I mean, I think that what's going to happen in China is that mobile device penetration is going to exceed computer penetration. And so the way that they're going to engage as consumers in China is going to be all through mobile devices. It's going to completely leapfrog the PC.
There's a tendency whenever we have an emerging technology to want to try to figure out a platform or a product, but you have to be really, really careful because you always need to go through those custom solutions to those platforms and reusable code repositories, and then the most evolved state is those types of SaaS and products. And when you violate that temporal continuum, the costs are very high. AppMaker and on all the companies out there that allow you to create turnkey, iPhone applications by putting in your website URL, they're pretty much all out of business right now. And similarly, we need to be very careful with MDMs, mobile device management companies. How many people here knows what an MDM is? 1,
3, 4.
I hope you know. So mobile device management companies are an example of those transitional product companies that help organizations better deploy 10,000 iPhones or iPads across their company. And the reason I say it's transitional is they're not going to be here in 4 years. Like a lot of product companies that are in mobile right now, they're kind of going to go by the wayside and morph into something else just because technology is changing so fast that it's impossible to update your product quick enough. So we're 190 people right now. We've built hiring and HR as a core competency of our company, and last quarter, I believe, 4 out of 5 engineers were relocated from out of state just because the mobile talent pool in Austin isn't there anymore. We had a great pool that was left over from kind of the dot-com boom and then going back further, the semiconductor industry, where TI brought a lot of that talent in. But ultimately, we need to replenish that talent pool. And I'm sure we'll go into this later, but I want to figure out how we can start planting those seeds today to make sure this nascent industry will have the people that we need.
So what keeps me up at night? Probably bugs. Software bugs. And it just seems like no matter what we do, they always seem to somehow survive. So they've figured out an evolutionary way of adapting and resisting to all programmers out there. And what I guess what scares me the most is releasing or launching a product that's in the hands of millions and millions of people, if you get lucky and become that successful, and something just doesn't work. And you might have then created your own very death, because you may have missed the boat, that one shot that you had, and you've just now announced to everybody, hey, this is what we tried to do and it didn't work, and someone else follows and takes your idea and becomes successful with it. That, and also millions of Americans or people in the world will probably be cursing your name at the same time.
Frankly, in many things, I think it's still pre-season. I mean, if you think about it, there's 4 billion devices activated around the world, and smartphone penetration on that is still, what, maybe 10 to 15%. And if you believe that in 5 to 8 years, 80 to 90% of those devices will be computers with persistent near broadband connections, I mean, it kind of blows your mind to think about the profound number of new things that are going to happen.
Yep.
Right.
I agree with that.
It's funny, as long as people are willing to be trained to speak the device's language, that helps, but not all that many people are excited about doing that. And I've been using it, and our office manager, her name's Natasha, and so I say, call Natasha. It says, calling Natasha. And so if I say Natasha, it doesn't always get it, but if I say Natasha, it gets it every time. So my phone is teaching me how to speak, and it's kind of a weird sensation when you're going, golly, there's a retraining, and so it's not there yet, but it's definitely something to keep an eye on.
I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to say that in 10 years, 95% of the people in this room will not carry what we call a phone anymore. Because what's inevitably going to happen is the environment is going to be the UI, right? We're having voice right now. We're having Siri on the client right now, and we're having this gesture-based recognition that we see on the Connect. And we have the cloud too, so we have this collision course of 3 really powerful technologies. And it's going to become less and less important that we carry around that physical device with us. If we're in the room right here, well, why can't we have the room pick up our voice? The room knows we're in here, and you can access everything that you need to access right then and there. And I know that is a little bit sci-fi, but I'm going to say 10 years is all that it's going to take. And it's kind of amazing to be that far away. Let me try Siri now. Has anyone not played with Siri yet? Okay. Here's the funny Siri Easter egg that I'm sure you all have seen. Where can I hide a body?
What kind of place are you looking for? Dumps, metal foundries, swamps, reservoirs, or mines?
So, and that's exactly how I've been using Siri. I've been showing people that. That's all I do with it.
You can ask it for a prostitute too.
Yeah, I haven't tried that. Okay. Do you have though? Okay. We'll try that later.
Hoan, I'm really interested to know about gaming and gaming innovation, and to the group too, about whether it's a game on the phone or the gamification of apps and devices generally. I'm really interested to hear what you think is cutting edge and what we need in terms of enabling technologies to get us from where we are today, which is essentially Angry Birds on your phone, to a much more expansive notion of gaming while I'm out and about. Yeah.
The Apple likes to keep everything under chains.
So does Samsung when Apple launches it. That's your problem. That's what
you have to play by their rules, or the highway. Their way of the highway. And then with Google, you have Android, where you have a bazillion different platforms, and there may be an enhancement or a feature on a later version of their API, but the majority of what's currently out there may be on a certain version, and you may have to resort to either A, the lowest common denominator because their API is backwards
Yep.
compatible, or you can go the other route where you can manage multiple different builds of your same application, and that might not, that might be a nightmare in itself.
Yeah.
When you answer the phone, they want you to kind of get a glimpse of their logo in the corner of your eye, right? And so, granted, not everyone, not every brand is going to be able to pull that off, but if I went around the room here right now and asked, how many loyalty cards do you have in your wallet? The average is probably going to be anywhere from 5 to 8 loyalty cards, right? And guess what? They're all going to be different. And so that means that the brands that you have an intense relationship with, it's very personal for you. And those brands are going to reach you through, we believe, through the rich app. Now, there's going to be a lot of mobile web engagement through that rich app, but there's going to be, there's going to be a lot of specific capabilities that are deeply intertwined with the device.
One of the reasons I didn't bite on the whole, HTML5 native argument is it's a pretty pointless argument to have. In 3 years, we're not going to be thinking of it in that paradigm. The line's going to blur so closely that you won't realize, am I in a native application or am I in, a mobile optimized website? It will just be mobile. And that's, what we're seeing happening more and more every day. Now, native was incredibly important at first for the same reason that, those AOL portals were really important at first. There wasn't any type of curation of mobile content. But now we're at the point finally where that curation is more of a constraint than it is an advantage. There's so many native applications out there that it almost becomes, difficult to find what you need, and people go back and they go to Google again. So, maybe one way to think of it is that Google is going to become the largest app store in a couple of years.
Yeah.
But don't forget, there's a whole ecosystem that we all work in, right? And the big companies, they grow and they see those cliffs that they start going off of, and they need new business lines and new technology to launch. And then you've got the early stage companies coming up, and there's an adoption curve for new technologies and new solutions and new products that people are putting together. And then there's that domestic market, and then there's an international market, and then there's a global market. And so there's a natural progression that a company grows along, and there are multiple exit. If they're successful, there's multiple exit points along the way. And but the degree in which companies are coming online is faster. The rate in which they're growing and becoming developing critical mass is much faster, and the rate at which at some point that mass will decline will be just as quick. But in the middle somewhere, there's plenty of opportunities for monetization.
It's true that the VC industry as a whole exists primarily because large companies can't move that quickly, right? And so these small ideas that grow into small or mid-sized companies, that's the R&D. The VC business is the R&D lifeblood of a lot of technology companies.
Cool. I want to thank everyone for your attention. I really appreciate it. We went quite a bit over, and I think the panelists appreciate it too. A round of applause, please. Do you have stuff you need to say? There are drinks now. Are there continuing drinks?
Yeah, there should be drinks still out there, and there may be some food left, but...
Okay, so have at it. Be merry. Thank you.